and we'll copy that into the text. And then we also need the name of our image, which was PSS BG for background, and then that happens to be a JPEG file. Now it's just widen this so you can see. Now the reason I've only got a slash in here and not the full path is because I can control where that image is within OpenInsight, but I can't control where the user is going to install OpenInsight. So what this will do is our code will look at this path and it will know that clinic data is at the top level under my OpenInsight directory, and then it will look in images and PSSBG. So if the user was to install this into C/my OpenInsight, it's going to put that before my string here. So it doesn't matter where they install OpenInsight, this is not going to break. This is where things are going to slow down a little, because I'm going to start creating the code, and the first piece of code I need to add is to the edit line. Now as this edit line changes, it's going to manipulate the image and display the appropriate image. So I open up the edit line properties window and I go into the events so that we can create the event for the particular control. And I'm not going to be doing a quick event. Now quick events are a number of events that are already defined within OpenInsight. So what I could say is for a button, for instance, on a click event, there isn't one here because this is a list of all of the events that are applicable to a particular control. So calculate, changed, char, etc, etc. But what I could say is on a button, when you click it, close the window, or read the row, or write the row, or clear the form. These are all events that are already built into OpenInsight and you don't need to do any coding for. So let's just clear that because I don't want that particular quick event. But what I do want to do is I want to go into here, I want to select changed and click the scripts button to open up the event handler for that control. Now I know the event I'm working on is changed because we have the event here. I can move around if I want to. There's no events on there because there's no Q or S at the end. And OpenInsight requires a return 0 or a return 1 at the end of the program. A return 0 means that it will get to the end of this program and stop, and a return 1 means that it will get to the end of the program and then run the quick event. So let's start looking at some code. The first thing we need to do is to declare some functions. And the first one is get underscore property, and the second one is set underscore property, and the two properties are split by the comma. Now it's always useful to put some comments in your code so that when you come back to it later you can see what the code is supposed to do, or somebody that maybe is taking over your code can see what you were trying to do. So I'm going to comment out this line with a star and 2 slashes, and puts in just a few details about what this piece of code is to do. Okay, so I've got 2 lines there, and I've just commented out both of those with an asterisk and then 2 slashes. So that's one of the easy ways of commenting out. Now the next thing that we need to do is to create ourselves, I think this is a variable. Obviously if you're an application programmer using the wrong technology, forgive me, I'm not a professional, so I do tend to use the wrong thing sometimes. And what we want to do is want to get property from the window, and we want to set our edit line, which is image path, and we want to set the text property on that control. We then need an if statement, so if path to bitmap equals nothing, then we want to do something. Now I'm always getting the ifs and thens and elses in the wrong place, so I'm going to do an end else and also an end so that I remember to put something in there. And you can obviously tab in if you want to within your code to indent it. However, before I do that, I want to add some more comments in. Now another way of commenting, remember before we used the asterisk / to comment out that single line, If you use a slash asterisk, then what you can do is to comment out a number of lines, and then at the end of it you close that with an asterisk slash. And I'll just put some text in here just to explain what this next piece of code is going to do. Okay, so using those switches we've actually commented out that whole block of code rather than having to block out each line one at a time. So as it says here, what we're going to do is we're going to reset the default image on a record. Change that to capital T. The default image path is hard-coded into the EDL_default image prompt, and then we find the default drive where this application is installed, and finally we bring the drive and image paths together into one string. So let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to tab in so that we know that this code is all within this if and else statement, and we need the default image equals, we need to get the property from our window, and the EDL_default image prompt, and it's the text that we want to obtain. We then need to acquire our default drive, so default drv equals the drive, and then we want to bring the two together, so default image equals default drv semicolon default image, and then we need to set the path. Taking that from, setting it to the bitmap image control, setting it as the default image. So basically here, if our path to our bitmap is nothing, then we're going to load in our default image based on the default drive and the default image location. However, if something is in that particular prompt, that edit line, we've got a proper path, then we need to set the path to where that image is. And in this time we're going to set the BMP image based on the path to the bitmap, and the path to bitmap is obviously up here, so we get the property from the window in our image path edit line, and that will be the text property. We then end and return 0, and once we're done we can click the compile button, and if our syntax is correct then we get a syntax correct notification in the status bar. And you'll also notice that our events is now changed with a bracket S bracket showing that there is a script against that particular event. So once we've done there we can just come out. Yes, we want to update, and you'll see here the change. We've got an S showing at this quick event level that we've got a script on that particular event. Now we'll assume all that is correct. We'll do a test run in a moment, but before I do that I need to go into the button